All right, Shalom Israel, Shalom, Most High Press. All praises to the Most High Yahawashi Yahawashi. Welcome to F.O.P.E Israelite School, Friday Night Flames. And tonight we have a beautiful interview. Elder Qanath will be interviewing our brother, Mighty Hebrew, Prince Shah Lundeen, and our brother, Moreh Yirmeyah. Thank y'all for tuning in. And we'll be going over various topics. If y'all want to ask questions after, you can. So I'll let the brothers introduce themselves.
So, you Mighty Hebrew. You on mute. Both of y'all on mute.
Yeah, y'all want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Shalom, shalom, family. All praise to the Most High, the El of creation. My name is Moreh Yirmeyah Yosef ben Yisrael. It's an honor and a privilege to join you all. I've heard some great things about this show, and I'm excited to be a part. Thank you for having me.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, Prince, you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute too, Prince. Unmute yourself.
King, Shalom Bahashim Yahuwah Kudish Yisrael. This is Tribal Minister Nasik Shah Lundeen, Ben Ami Motazoyam Ben Yasha Allah Senior, Prince in making a better world, giving all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those striving for righteousness, I sing to the family, Shabbat Shalom. Here representing the Mighty Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalistic Research Team with Moreh Yirmeyah Ben Yosef Ben Yisrael, and with F.O.P.E. That's get it. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. So we're going over various topics. We like to call it Friday Night Flame. So we're gonna call it Friday Night Flame kick ass. Because we got brothers out here that's disrespecting the Most High. We got with pseudo scholarship, right? So we're gonna go into various topics, and we have two very well-known scholars in our community. Hallelujah, the Most High bless us with two very fine scholars that's going to edify you. F.O.P.E, for our people's edification. Both of these brothers are going to edify you on various topics we're going to go into. And we can go in, we accept a few calls if the brothers want to accept a few calls at the end of the program, dealing with the topics that we're speaking of. Okay, so one thing I want to get into, because a lot of people say, especially the conscious community or so-called Dagger Squad, they say Abraham never existed. Hebrew Israelites is just a pseudo scholarship. We don't exist. There's no Israelites in Africa. And then we'll lead up from there. So, Yahoo, you can start that off if you don't mind, my brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find it extremely disingenuous and dishonest to even just kind of blatantly do that when they say that there's they never existed, none of this happened. I mean, we know that not only through the history of things and archaeological discoveries and a whole bunch of things that that led to the real existence of a people, hieroglyphs, but there's also even contemporaneous nomenclature or people that wrote about these people outside of the sacred text. So it becomes very, very pseudo scholarship, as you say, for just a blanket or a priori say that Abraham never existed and this culture is just a made up culture. I find it very annoying to have to deal with that most of the time.
Before we get into some of the scholarship and the evidence, you understand, on many levels, from the science, from the biblical, and like I said, many other books, right? Before we get into that science of it and also to the scripture mode of it, what do you say to the people who speak these things, who say it's a pseudo or these or Abraham, our forefathers never existed?
That's a good. No, go ahead. Moreh Yirmeyah. You can finish tackling that.
No. Actually, you go ahead. You go ahead, and I'll double down on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that we got to question is where they're getting these ideas from, because when we study classical records, such as Philo, such as Manetho, such as Josephus and others, you would never see any of these classical writers saying that the children of Israel didn't exist. See, the people of Kemet, they're not on trial. People like the Dagger Squad, Amun Ra Squad, and the whole Kemetic conscious community, they're on trial. They're not talking about classical Kemet. What they're talking about is Masonic Kemet. These are two different schools of thought. So let's make this clear. We do not have the ancient Egyptians on trial. Who we have on trial is those that claim that they're dealing with some form of Egyptology. So when we study Egyptology amongst a contemporary understanding, we got to understand the source of reality, where this information comes from. And we know that this stuff come by the way of the Royal Society, which was developed in London, England. And their objective was, when they created Egyptian chronology from, abstracting it from out of Manetho's thought, their objective was to control the histories of the world. So this is why when you hear about any type of academic consensus and aligning with Kemetic chronology, if it don't align with Kemet, then basically what they're saying is it's not historical. You have archaeologists and anthropologists, even though they're known as minor anthropologists and archaeologists, like David Rawl. He wrote a book called The Land of Avaris, and he also wrote Pharaohs and Kings. And when you look in that book and you look at the research, you could clearly see that the Kemetic chronology is all 464 years. Well, where he wrote that, it was 464 years. Silika. But in reality now it's like 472 years now. So when we deal with this information here and we start to deal with Kemet based on the contemporary chronology of Egypt, when they talk about certain historical characters of Egypt, they actually put in historical events that may belong in one dynastic period. They're talking about it in another dynastic period. So the whole historical narrative of Kemet is off. So Moreh, Yirmeyah, if you want to jump on that, hallelujah, Hebrew Israelite, sovereign nationalism rising worldwide.
Please build on that.
Yeah, Kane. Also, dealing with that pseudo scholarship, like he's saying that the chronology is off on dynastic periods and situations like that. We also find that we deal with some of the individual, the individual kings that the Most High used to bring judgment on the children of Israel. They wrote about how they did the children of Israel and braggadociously, because they were proud of the oppression. They were proud of the heinous things that they did, taking them into captivity. So like I was telling my dear brother, the Mighty Hebrew, on that interview that you might have heard, I said no press is bad press. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion that if I say something good about you or if I say something bad about you, the common denominator is you had to exist for me to talk about you in the first place.
Right. Hallelujah, hallelujah. So, like I said, before we get into the science of it and proving that our ancestors exist, this is why we here. Let's go into their school of thought. What is the concept, or what's behind their belief? Because they say we always on trial. What is it that they believe to make them think that there is no Abraham? There's our forefathers. Go ahead, Mighty Hebrew, or either one of you.
Yeah, go ahead, because I know you're very versed on the Kemet thought. My strong suits is dealing directly in the people. So yeah, go ahead, brother.
We gonna get on there. I was gonna play a little devil's advocate since we don't have one of them to defend themselves.
Kane. I mean, when you look at any of the Indus Valley records, and one day I will be showing that to Israel, you can see that there was an existence of a man by the name of Abraham. You can go to a classical historian known as Brodicus, and when you read Brodicus the Chaldea, he clearly speaks of a man from the 10th generation dealing with the genealogy of the Table of Nations after Noah, and he lets you know that a man from the 10th generation by the name of Abraham, he existed. You see no classical, and again, I'm arguing this. There's no classical writers. And when we say classical, we mean ancient historians. There are no ancient historians that don't say that Abraham didn't exist. The only ones that say Abraham didn't exist is contemporary scholars. You can go to the Ebla tablets. When you look at the Ebla tablets, you see in the Ebla tablet, it talks about a man by the name of Abramu. And he supposedly, if you go into the 14th chapter, Bereshit or Genesis, them same kings, them 5 kings that made alliances to destroy Abraham, and the ones that he made, the other kings he made alliance with, you can see them in chronological order in the Ebla tablets. You can see the same war. You know what I mean? And then if you go into the Moreh letters, understanding the Moreh letters by the way of the revised chronology of Egypt that David Raw put together, you'll clearly be able to see that the Moreh letters were written by Canaanites who were writing Akhenaten, who was a contemporary of David and Solomon. And they was writing the Akhenaten talking about how these Harapus or these Harabus were invading the land. You know what I'm saying? And they speak directly about a man by the name of Lionheart, who was known as Saul. It talks about David as Damimo. It talks about, Goliath, all these different people in the Moreh letters. You see what I'm saying? The Moreh letters, they had nothing to do with being contemporaries of Moses' time. It was everything to do with King David's time. Why? Because when we left from out of the land of Mizraim, remember, we was coming and we was invading. So you seen these Canaanites talking about it, and the Canaanites was sending this information back to Akhenaten. You know what I mean? This is when you see Solomon, when he marries the Egyptian princess. When you see that in the Book of Kings, that was Akhenaten's daughter. So these people that are talking about, Akhenaten being a contemporary of Moses, he was really a contemporary of Solomon. Moses had nothing to do with Akhenaten, period. So because they dealing with the contemporary Egyptian chronology, history has been thrown off its course. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Let me say something now. Go ahead, Bill. Bill on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, in addition to that, like I said, my good brother, Mighty Hebrew, definitely has a strong suit in understanding the Kemetic school of thought. But like he said, they're on trial. So if they're the ones on trial, not us. So if I were in a trial or in court, I would ask them, well, then how do you explain away a language of a people that is attributed to that people that truly exists? And there is a treasure trove of archaeological evidence, that supports the language that was developed by a people you say never existed. So, how does that work?
And here's the thing, and I'm glad you guys, this is the spirit here, because when we talking about the language, because you and I, we talked about it earlier, I let you build it before we came on the live, about the different dialects of Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of our brothers can speak these languages. Now, here you have these guys who only language they speak is English. You understand? So I'm trying to figure out who they actually learning from. That's why I'm trying to, who they learning from. Because we actually learn from our forefathers. Who are they actually learning from? So I mean, they're not gonna come here to defend themselves. I hope they would. But I digress. Let's build on what we talked about earlier on our phone call before we came on live. Mighty, if you want to start it off, or brother, you can start what we was talking about as far as our people over in Africa, they're in the language.
Oh, okay, great. I could take it. I know that Mighty Hebrew can build on that. Because I spent, I lived over in Nairobi, Kenya, for a year, and I actually still travel back and forth because of my business career and some other stuff like that. I had a personal, just eye-opening experiences dealing on the continent, because as a Hebrew speaker and reader and writer, I heard so much of the language in what they call the mother tongues or mother dialects of the Bantu tribal distinction that's over there. And I mean, even, and like I was telling you earlier, Kiswahili is totally a Shemitic language. It is chock full of Arabic and direct Hebrew. And it's undeniable. And it was undeniable to the point where I just kept hearing it because I know the words to listen for. There's no way around it. And then the Bantu distinction, which I know we haven't, I'm not going to rabbit trail there, but I know you just wanted to deal with the language. But, we can definitely build.
Edify. Go ahead. Go.
Oh, okay. Well, and first and foremost, when we talk about the Bantu migration and expansion, first and foremost, the term Bantu in and of itself was always a derogatory pejorative, just like calling us niggers or coons over here. That's one of the distinctions in the first place. Bantu, yeah, they were stones in the shoe. That was the distinction of a Bantu. These Johnny-come-latelys that were a stone in the shoe. But then their culture and their way of life was so different, and they were so successful, even in migrating to us, made us jealous, and that's how that situation happened. Which some of those individuals also say, like you were talking about earlier, that there wasn't a transatlantic slave trade, and there wasn't this, that, and the other, and it's a whole bunch of foolishness, and none of them were even present, or you can't tell that they were present. I mean, it's undeniable, the presence of that Bantu migration and expansion based upon what they brought in the language, and then some of the additional things like their biocycle, social acculturation. The language is called, in the language it's called etymological morphology. It is the transition of the language and how their current dialect still keeps and holds on to some of the fundamental language of what they spoke before they got there. And it's just an evidence that's just kind of jaw-dropping.
Okay. So with your experiences over there, can you tell us, far as like, of course, a lot of us, some OT, new T, do they actually use any form of the Torah, or they just practice on customs pertaining to the Hebrew Israelite customs?
Well, as a matter of fact, some of their standards of living, as far as what they consider even acceptable, is heavily Torah based. But then they also have the rites of passage, like circumcision. Within the Bantu culture over there, I don't care if your IQ is 200 plus. If you're uncircumcised, they consider you the village idiot. It's that serious. And none of the women are allowed to date you. They're not allowed to marry you. You know what I'm saying? You are shunned. It's that serious.
Right.
The way that they deal in their humane slaughtering of animals, and the way that it's said according to Torah, which is to allow all of the blood to drain out. That's standard operating procedure for them. It is not up for discussion either. If you do anything other than that, they're not going to eat it. You know what I'm saying? And they're definitely not going to prepare it that way. So these are evidences that are. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, these customs, how long? Is this something new? But some people say, oh, they learned it from the Khazars or something like that. How long have they been keeping these customs?
They've been keeping this customs from the beginning. And as a matter of fact, like what we were talking about earlier, they're the two biggest tribes over there that are considered brother or sister tribes over there. The difference between them is, like I told you, witchcraft. One abdicated their Torah-based duty. And when they got together, the other tribe said, okay, we're going to go our way and you all can go your way. Even though their mother tongues are just almost identical, but it was that behavior that was not Torah-based that got them separated from the ruling tribe, which was actually in Kenya would be the Kikuyu. And that, happened that way because of the firm belief in that. You know what I'm saying?
You want to build on that, Prince?
Okay, absolutely. I want to build upon that. One of the major problems that I have when they say that there's no evidence is that we can go prior to the 1500s ACE. Like, for instance, we can go to the 9th century ACE where Adad the Danite. And we know that Adad the Danite in his own writings, him being from the tribe of Dan, that's number one. And number two, he said that the tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel went into the land of Osiris, which is Northwest Africa. Also, we can go to people like the Imo Kodum of southern Nigeria, which is known as the strange people. They call themselves Bene Ephraim. There's a book called The African Savage, written by a man by the name of Banta Ibn Ngoza and Bogola. And he writes down the history of how his ancestors, by the way of the Babylonian exile, how they left southern Judea and migrated to a place where nobody dwelt, and they called it in the native vernacular of the Yoruba, the Omi, which means good water. They don't know how that name became the Homie and they start pushing over to the coast. They don't know how that happened. But we have outside sources also use a primary source that they love to use. The Afrocentric world loves to use Sheikh Anta Diop. And if you go into Sheikh Anta Diop's book, Pre-Colonial Black Africa, he talks about there was an Israelite minority that lived in the bent of the Niger who specialized in growing vegetables from well water. You know what I mean? So he breaks all this down. You know, even Dr. A.A. Ben Yosef A.A. Ben Yochanan and African Origins of Major Western Religions on page 74, you clearly see Dr. Ben clearly breaking down how the Hebrew presence got into West Africa. He breaks all this down. Also, if you go to Dr. John Henry Clark in the introduction of The Arabs Invade Egypt, you'll clearly see Dr. John Henry Clark in that book, as well as Africans at a Crossroads. And you'll see him saying that, asking the question, where did the quote unquote Jews go, so-called Jews go, after the destruction of the temple in 70 CE, 70 AD? And he clearly said it, Dr. John Henry Clark, that there is some evidence that they migrated into the body of Africa. So all these scholars that these Afrocentric, Kemetic, Black conscious, so-called Facebook scholars claim that they believe it, their own scholars is showing that they're guilty by the fact that they're saying out of their own mouth that the Hebrews were quote unquote black, that the Hebrews migrated from Northeastern Africa to West Africa. We got Dr. James Smalls on YouTube in a classroom setting talking about the migration of the Israelites going into West Africa. We got Dr. Khaled Muhammad saying, which was Saad Netta's teacher, he was an understudy of Dr. Khaled Muhammad. Dr. Khaled Muhammad came to Israel in 1978 with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to go see our master teachers, the late Adonenu, Rabbeinu Ben Ami Ben Yisrael Ha Mashayach, and the Saad Greer International Ambassador and Prime Minister, Prince Asiel Ben Yisrael. So these guys knew that we were Hebrews. Farrakhan said out of his own mouth in the final call that he put his life on the line. He said that the blacks in America are the real children of Israel. Malcolm X said that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught him that the blacks in America were the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Go to 1974, a Savior has arrived by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he clearly said that the blacks in America were in fact the children of Israel. Sweet Daddy Grace, Father Divine, St. John the Divine, Rabbi Wilkins, Rabbi Matthew, Rabbi Herschel, Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, and the list goes on and on and on. That said that we were the children of Israel. So I don't understand the bullshit game that these cats is playing when in fact their own master teachers. And speaking to you, Garfield, you brought up Dr. Shaka Musa Berashingo. I knew Dr. Shaka Musa Berashingo personally. He was from West Philly. He's originally from West Philly. And that Afrocentric scholar has never denied the blacks and said over and over that the blacks in America were in fact the children of Israel. You can go to his book, African Genesis, where he breaks all that down. You can go in this book, what is it? European Holidays, Mental Genocides, volumes 1 and 2. And then I think he got another volume. All throughout there, he say that the children of Israel are black. So I'm saying all your scholars that you built upon, your foundation is clearly saying that we the Israelites. But in another breath, y'all saying that we not. When did it become a fact that we stopped being Israelites? When all your master teachers are saying that we are the children of Israel. So what's the, even when you talk about polite, your master teacher is in fact Imam Isa, who had what was known as the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, or the Ansar law community, who in turn changed to right knowledge, of Dr. Malachi Z. York. They identified themselves as Nubian Islamic Hebrews, whatever that means. But the whole point is, if the Hebrews didn't exist, why are these people identifying themselves as such? All these different leaders that you saying basically y'all under, they all said that the Israelites were black. Most of them said that we the Israelites. But now y'all saying that the Hebrews don't exist, that it was all made up, and that if you are talking about Hebrews today, you're talking about crackers. You're contradicting your own founding fathers, the granddaddy of Afrocentric thought. Dr. John Henry Clark said continuously that the original Hebrews were black. So you're against Dr. John Henry Clark. So I want to say this last thing. So you Kemetic scholars. So basically, y'all putting Dr. John Henry Clark on trial. Y'all putting Dr. Ben on trial. Y'all the ones that putting y'all founding fathers that said the true Hebrews were melanated people and that we had descent from them Hebrews. So you put your own master teachers on trial. So you don't put us on trial. You put your own teachers on trial because your teachers said it. And that's why I'm using the academic consensus of your own teachers to put you in check. Hallelujah.
Right.
And if I could double down on my good brother, like he's talking about all these people shaking the D up, and I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Barashango, because one of the most riveting lectures that started me on this course when I was probably just a teenager in high school was his famous lecture, "Will the Real Jesus Please Stand Up?" And that's probably one of my favorite lectures by him. But when dealing with them, and which is very dishonest to them, like all of those scholars that do say we were that. But if you look at one, because Qanath is our foundation, you know what I'm saying? So we do believe it and we go by it. Qanath continually gives us historical context clues that the children of Israel continually, when they were hard-headed, stiff-necked, thought they could escape judgment by running through the Sinai into Mitzrayim, to the point where the Most High had to speak through his Navim to tell them, hey, listen, stop running into Mitzrayim because Paro is not going to save you. But then contemporaneous nomenclature from additional contemporaneous people during the time documented how they always kept trying to run and escape through the Sinai into Mitzrayim. So there's no way around it.
Check this out, brother. When you listen at the buffoonery that they speak on, and if you watch every nation, right, or every ethnicity, right, all nations, right, and all the ethnicity people say, right, every single one, right, if you talk to their scholars, they come back and say that we are the Hebrews, right? I see people all over the world from different nationalities. They know who we are, right? It's not that we on trial, right? Everybody agree. Everybody around the world say there was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Everybody, right? Right? Even the people that call themselves Muslims, right, that follow Farrakhan, they believe in Israelites. Christians believe in Israelites. Baptists believe in Israelites, right? All these people believe this, right? You got this new generation of people who disrespect their scholars and their master teachers, right? Who now all of a sudden, there is no Abraham, there is no Isaac, there is no Moses, right? These people don't exist anymore, right? You can't prove it. This is what we're dealing with. Also now, and you know I got to go there. Now all of a sudden, now you got people, and you look at our scholars, brothers and sisters that I have here, right? Whether they OT or new T, right? We have scholars in our community, right? And all of them are black, right? Dark skin or light skin, black men and women that's come on this show, right? That's in Israel, around the world, right? And then all of a sudden, now you got other people claiming to be Israel, like from the Jews over in Israel, so-called Jews in Israel, Khazarians, right? To so-called Hispanics, right? All these people claiming to be Israel. Everybody know Israel exists, right? So this is the buffoonery that we're talking about. And I want to go back to language, right? We left off there. I want to go back to language because a lot of people get confused on the language. So and there's many dialects. So one of you brothers explain to us the different dialects and what is the real ancient language of the Hebrew, so-called Hebrew.
Well, if I could just take a start on that, when understanding the Shemitic languages of the language of Abraham, you know, we start with Akkadian and then that transitions in to some splitter dialects, and then we get into the Paleo Hebrew and then Aramaic as well, which is really contemporaneous. And most of the script that you always see today, that's actually Aramaic script in comparison and contrast to Paleo Hebrew. So there were several Shemitic languages that helped in the transition. It was most likely some Phoenician dialect or Akkadian that was spoken during the time of Abraham. And if I could just throw something just a real quick when dealing with Ivri, the tricontinental root for Abraham is what we get the thought process for Ivri from. You know what I'm saying? And that in and of itself comes from. You know, they basically the Shemitic language, especially Hebrew, deals in acrostics a lot. It deals in that type of identifier. So Ivri is the language of Abraham, if that makes sense.
Good. Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right? Because I can't let's make this going too smooth.
Uh-oh.
Right. It's going too smooth. Now, some people say, well, you know, Hebrew or the language that we speak, like you just said, is not the original language. And we actually got our language is two different dialects. And like you said, the Phoenicians and so on and so forth. So can you give us the understanding on what was the original language, or was the original language? And did we copy off another language that came up with our language?
well, that's the term in and of itself, etymological morphology. That's that big $50 word literally means the morphing or the transition of a language into something else, keeping elements of what it came from, but then developing and modifying into new distinctions within the language. You know what I'm saying? So it's, you know, it's more transitional than it is broken.
So what dynasty would you say that? What dynasty would you say we came? Well, were we in captivity at that time? Were we becoming a nation at that time? And what dynasty did these languages come from to form our language?
I would conjecture, and I would definitely. This is something that I definitely would like to show with slides, and you know, like we said, we're doing this off the fly. So we weren't, right. You know what I'm saying? These are things that I dance around lightly if I can't throw something up on the screen. You know what I'm saying? To prove it. But you know, the language around the time, or the dynastic, the time when we're dealing in Mitzrayim and coming from Moshe and that time of the story from Bereshit to Shemot, it's very likely that the dialect was that you know, a more ancient Phoenician or Akkadian dialect, or some type of dialect that transitions, and then it developed into a more concrete and more organized form. Then it got more of a structure to it when we get into pre-exilic and then post-exilic. Then we find the Masoretes are the ones that added the vowel markings to that in order to add even more organization. So if you're a student of biblical Hebrew grammar and exegesis, I truly appreciate the vowel distinctions, because it helps so much more than just looking at the looking at the language, learning the vowel distinctions first. Then now at this point in my tenure of being a student of the language, I can look at the language without the markings, and I know exactly what it's saying based upon how it's put together. So that organization post-exilic was absolutely necessary to give the language a more official and formal organizational infrastructure, if you will.
Hallelujah. Because some people say that we were speaking Aramaic during the time before slavery. Like some people say we came over here before slavery during the I guess King David period or Solomon period. I'm not sure. Had to do the research on that. But we were speaking somewhat Aramaic. So like we had in our conversation before, they were saying in Puerto Rico, they found these stones, and they said they were speaking some form of Hebrew, right? But it was not the Aramaic Hebrew that we accustomed to, right? It was some, I forgot what dialect or what form of Hebrew it was. So do you know anything about that? Because a lot of times people say, well, just because you find a penny in Iran, right, and they're saying whatever the head of that person is on the penny does not mean them people were actually born there or them people existed there. Somebody
I would like to attack it. Whoa, I would like.
Go ahead, attack it.
Can't hallelujah. Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Yeah. So I brought that up because you have this thing now. Well, we got the artifacts to prove that we are them people, right? Talking about the Puerto Ricans. Now, before we go into that, because I do believe certain Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico are Israelite of Negroid descent. Okay, right? There's Wesley Slight black. You understand? So or a little lighter, but you're going to have a little Israel a little bit everywhere, four corners of the earth. But they coming up with these artifacts saying that this is the reason why they claim this, because they say this belongs to them. And when we do our history, we know exactly.
No. Listen, you can't get artifacts that they found from colonies, and try to confuse that as if that's the language of the people. One of the questions, or one of the pieces that I put up for Ancient Watchmen is to show the growth and development of the Hebrew language over here by the ways of scrolls. Like if you go to Israel, which I've been, Yirmeyah has been, so when you over there, you can see through the research the growth and development of the language. Some going back to Sinaitic, Picturetic Hebrew. We're talking 1446 BCE at the end of the 12th dynasty, when we was in Qanath in a land known as Avaris, which we know in the scripture as Pithon and Ramses, the Goshen area. Then you start going into Solomon's time, roughly 966 BCE, during the 4th year of King Solomon's reign. You can find that in the first book of Kings, the 6th chapter. The first book of Kings, the 6th chapter, verse 1, it says 480 years after the Exodus. And we know that he died, Solomon, 930 BCE, which is also outlined in the first book of Kings, the 11th chapter, verse 42. You'll see that Solomon reigned for 40 years and he died. To say all that, now you see what you call the Paleo-Hebrew. Also, let me tackle this word Phoenician. There's no such language as Phoenician. That term is totally Greek. When they talk about the Phoenician Empire, they're talking about Hyman, king of Tyre, who was of Zebulun. He was of the tribe of Zebulun and the tribe of Naphtali from his mother and father. And sometimes he's confused as a Canaanite. He made a triple alliance with King Solomon. King Solomon had openings in the Red Sea area, and they would go through there to, past West Africa to the Americas. Going back and forth to Lake Superior, getting ores from the Americas. All these places like you find in the Los Lones inscriptions in Hidden Mountain and Los Lones, New Mexico, the Long Island inscriptions, the Davenport Stela, the Stela of Baal in South America, which you talking about in Puerto Rico. Notice these are isolated artifacts that were connected to a colony. Because if the natives spoke this as their native tongue and they wrote this, it would have been countless and countless and countless amounts of artifacts on this. You don't see this. You only see these things in areas that were outlined as colonies. Why? Because the Israelites that was known as the Phoenician Empire was coming back and forth over here to the Americas as colonies and bringing ores from the new world back to the old world. That's
and let
how
me say
that
this before
went
you
down.
get there, I want you to continue on that because I gotta bring this in because some people try to creep in and say, see, that's us, right? And I'm gonna let you in, brother. They say, see, that's us, right? And we got to go by time period. We understand that. So we do know, like you said, they came from West Africa because a lot of times now people trying to say we damn Canaanites. You understand? So we have to be very careful in that aspect of it too. But who the people are, who the people look like. And so we do have to go to phenotype, skin color, the whole nine.
Absolutely. I'll let Moreh Yirmeyah, who deal with the phenotypes. I'm gonna pass that on to him because one of the things that he brought up in the last interview, when I interviewed them, is like, where is the scientific data? Where's the scientific data for you to outline us as Canaanites? I'm gonna pass this on to Moreh Yirmeyah so he can sever the dome. Hallelujah.
Cut the head off. Cut the head off.
Right. As far as the phenotype is it comes from that genetic distinction, but like we're dealing with, we've got this. It's a discovery, the E1B1A haplogrouping, and that situation. It does have some validity to it. That's the reason why I've done some extensive research and got on the ground with it. But the simple science behind that, and I know that we were getting into that. You asked a real pertinent curveball question, Elder. Concern one man has 12 sons. They will all have the same Y chromosomal haplogrouping. It's gonna be that way. If you for any in any and I love how you threw the curveball about where they call that the white man science. Okay, well my response to you was a very knee-jerk flip response. Well, if that be the case,
that curveball. Hold on, bro. That curveball, bro, since we had a conversation offline to build up on this dialogue we're talking about. But go ahead, my brother.
Oh yeah, the curve. Yeah. You threw that curveball question, and it was a good question. You were saying that, well, then people will try to dismiss this haplogrouping as the white man science. The white man science. I won't even dignify that with a scholastic response, but I give it a very knee-jerk flip response. If that be the case, any of you saying that, if you owe child support, don't give them another dime and deny that baby that probably looks just like you. Or you know what I'm saying? Or if somebody's innocent, you know what I'm saying? Anybody that's in prison right now because they literally found your DNA at the crime scene for something heinous you did, you need to be let go immediately. If that does, we need a whole, the prisons need to be cleared out because it's the white man science and it doesn't have any validity to it. That's foolishness on the face of it. And dealing with that science, which is an accurate science, and it is a founded science because it's really a numbers game situation and what's present within it's a numbers game. So therefore, that's why it has those letter and number classifications to it based upon what's present in it. And one man has 12 sons, they will all have the same Y chromosomal haplogrouping. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, the quote-unquote Hebrew Israelite DNA distinction is the E1B1A, as some new discoveries are, with some credibility saying that. Well, let's just, for the sake of argument, say that.
Right.
Then that means that every situation, because it comes from the father, and then there's a mitochondrial counterpart to it, and it does not deviate, especially when they remain within their culture. Hence the reason the Most High gave instructions to not marry out or have offspring outside of it. And because of the oppression and our uniqueness through the millennia, we were outcasts. We were looked. So we maintained a purity of our genetic makeup because we were forced to. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because we were forced to. So, and this is all the way, as a matter of fact, wasn't interracial marriage illegal here until like 1972? I think it was illegal. So up until 1972, we were basically forced. to say together.
Right.
So there's a maintain.
Let me say this. Let me say this just real quick. Now, that doesn't say that we did not marry, right? Outside our race in biblical time, and also before that year that bro was speaking about. Yeah, we did. Right. Some things were accepted because of different dynamics and certain power struggles that they had going on at that time. But he says something very key in the building. And I want y'all to listen very carefully. You're dealing with two scholars here. So listen up. Tighten your eardrums up. Right? Watch this. The brother said that we were not allowed, right? And some people say we can marry outside our race, but the Bible says we can't. Now, we just don't bang on any and everybody. We bang on our friends too, right? We bang on other scholars. So we're gonna bring up another name because this scholar, him and I had a dialogue on his program, and his name is Ron. What's the brother name?
Ron Dalton, and then let's park on him for a minute.
let's park on his head a little bit. Ron, very a unique scholar. From my understanding, a tribal brother, right? Books. I love his books. I know brothers who have his books, and him and I had a dialogue, and he was trying to say that we don't know who this person, who that person is, but his books deal in genealogy. Right? So I'm gonna let this brother go into the conversation they had, and maybe one day he can come on the program and we can dialogue. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, yeah. Well, I dealt with some of those things with the brother when we had first met. I believe it was November of 2018. We were at a conference in Michigan, so we were sitting right by each other, got to talking and exchange information. He was dealing with that, and then we started to talk privately, and I told him that, when you start approaching this E1B1A situation, you must bring some additional epigenetic markers. You got to present those along with the genetic markers that you're bringing up, because it's not even incredible in any scholastic school of thought to just park on one situation in your abstract and not be able to build upon it with certain perimeter situations. So when dealing in the genetics of the E1B1A, it is vital that we also include the epigenetic markers. You know what I'm saying? And epigenetics, we know, are transferred automatically through the colostrum when breastfeeding. That activates epigenetics. New science has figured out that breastfeeding activates epigenetics in the child or the baby, and it brings about all of those distinctions in as far as phenotypical looks and any of those things that will happen genetically. But epigenetically, that would deal with the language, that would deal with the way that the culture behaves and how they transitioned through time with their behavior. There are certain things that there's no way around as far as that's concerned. And when I spoke to this brother, I came to, let me use a little tact and discretion. I came to quickly figure out that as my dear brother that will be with the research team, my dear brother and one of my closest brothers, a scholar, Moreh out of Israel, was talking about. He calls them attention whores. And basically what their agenda was in the beginning was just to get metrics and analytics. And this has quickly been proven with that particular brother, because now I have been shocked to hear him try to include the erroneous 12 tribes chart or some of those thought process in the 12 tribes chart into some of his teachings, because he understands that he will have much more metrics and analytics if he some kind of way includes them into the discussion.
Well, here it is. This is the reason why, brother, right? This is just a wise man speaking, all right? The reason why he's bringing in the 12 tribe chart, right? Because once you meet a certain group of people and you become their friend, right? So you can't go against their base, right? So you try to some kind of way smooth that in there, right? They had a now, right? They all had a meeting, right? And they all had a gathering together and they all rubbed shoulders, right? So we watching your ass. Right? So, and like I always say, you want to get folk up, right? You're going to get folk up with the research team the brothers put together, and all of us coming together, consolidating our our knowledge together, right, to break down these false philosophies and bringing the heathen and so on and so forth is straight asinine. But I want you to go into what you told me about the brother said your words.
Yeah, but what I was, oh, you really want to talk? Okay. You really want to? Well, since we talking, so before I forget my point, the reason that he came on this show is because this show has metrics and analytics. So I'm a kiss on that and step off of it. So that's why he came, but he wasn't ready for what he was coming on the show for. But I was talking to him about all of those things, and I even sent him something. I came up with something proprietary called the I was going to call it Hibiru DNA something. It was an abstract where it would be a situation where we were able to start using some of our an investment strategy and this and the other to be able to travel and to reach some of those distinctions and do some testing for them so that we can compile a database. So I came up with compile a database so we can start, because the difference between hypothesis and methodology, I always say this, is the reproducibility of results. So in order to have reproducibility of results, we have to have controlled data that's cataloged. So I told him in order to even be able to isolate the places we had to deal with etymological morphology, biopsychosocial acculturation, and a few other things. And he said, you know what, brother? You speak too many big words. I don't think we're going to be able to work together. I said, oh, okay. I see what this is. I said, oh.
You off the hook, Yirmeyah.
And then in the same breath, he knows he knows because of my contacts and my network, I'm only a hop, skip, and a jump from contacting all of the people that he had never spoken to before. So he basically was trying to get me to, he eventually got to some individuals that, in the community that are known. But the purpose of that, obviously the agenda for that, and it's evidence. And then when I figured that out, when there was a $ attached to his information, we know that we give wisdom, especially if it's going to change and impact the lives of our people, because I've got a heart for my people. I'll give it for free.
Yeah, hallelujah. Like the Bible tells me, man. And it's the New Testament. Here it says, we don't. How it goes? I think it's in Matthew's, right? We don't set our treasures on earth. We set our treasures in heaven. You understand?
Right.
So the treasures on earth don't mean nothing to us, right? Everything we learn right now, that's going to be washed away. We know that, right? But we're still trying to build because we love our people. We're not doing this for financial gain at all. You know, we're not doing it for financial gain. Now, if we make some sequoias or whatever off of it, then fine. But we're not doing it for financial gain. Financial gain for some brothers or some sisters to include other people who are not of our race, who's not in the covenant, right? So they could get recognized, be seen, and collective green. We're not about that.
And it's shameful, and it is very shameful. But after that conversation with that brother, I stepped back and I just observed, and then I put the pieces together. I said, "Oh, this is what this is about." I said, "This is you are capitalizing on a movement that is destined by the Most High to be the biggest thing since sliced bread in due course."
That's right.
So it's already becoming the biggest and the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I'm saying right now. So it can't be stopped. This boulder can't be stopped once it starts rolling down here, especially leading into the culmination. But I would speaking to that brother and anybody else that has ulterior motives and impure motives and agenda to try to capitalize off of our people. I love how the Most High spoke through the Navi Ezekiel in the 23rd division. He said, you know what, I'm going to bring you into the wilderness of the people, and I'm going to deal with you face to face like I dealt with your prophets in the wilderness. But be assured, I will purge the rebels from among you. So all of those individuals that are using us for financial gain or diabolical machinations and tyrannical machinations in order to oppress our people. Oh, you're gonna have a reckoning if you don't get it right real quick.
Right. Well, we're supposed to, the Most High says it's going to start with us first, right? So we have to have a spiritual cleansing, right? It's purge time, right? So we have to spiritually purge them out, right? Because the Most High said, man, if any of us be found with them, he's going to thrust through, right? He's going to thrust through us all. Mighty Hebrew, I can see you want to say something. You've been waiting patiently, brother, before we go to the next topic. Go ahead, Prince. You're on mute. You're on mute. Go ahead.
This. Yeah, I know I'm on mute. Yeah, just to say this, it's very imperative for the family to understand the type of machinery that we're dealing with right now. You know what I mean? And you're talking about the system. If you look at the 48 laws of power and law number 11, it talks about for them to conceal their intentions and to keep everything in their mind state amongst people around them in the dark like smoke. So we in the season now, you're going to see what I call the generation of the fallen. And as people are falling, you're going to also have those that are consciously awakening to this Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalistic thought. That's why it was so imperative for me to develop Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism and the mighty Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalistic research team to tackle situations like this, because enough of the pseudo scholarship. It is now time to cross the threshold and start tearing down these barriers that are keeping us from reaching the true pie in the sky, which is really the mind, because everything starts in the mind, everything going in the mind. So what we saying as Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalists, let's deal with this straightforward. Let's go on a neutral ground. You argue the fact that in the 16th, we don't have no information prior to the 1500s. Okay, you say we was converted by European Jews to Judaism in West Africa. Okay, even though we know that we have oral traditions from different tribes throughout West Africa deferring to what you're claiming. Okay, deferring what you're claiming. So what I would like to do, if possible, Yirmeyah, I would like for you to expand on the Bantu expansion and the linguistic effects that it had on Swahili, Kiswahili, and culturally, that how we define as Hebrew anthropogenesis, how this has developed within West Africa. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I want to hear that too.
Yeah, Kane. Well, first and foremost, if I could throw a curveball back at those individuals and say that there's no evidence, based upon the understanding of these Bantu distinctions all over the continent, they know when they got there. They know when they arrived in that area. They know, especially the tribal elders, they know when they showed up. But their mother tongue that's chocked full of Hebrew is not changed. It has not changed since the time they showed up before the 16th century. They know they showed up then. You know what I'm saying? It's not even that was one of the connections that I made. Even if they didn't know, I've been around individuals that did not even believe that they were, these are Bantus, that didn't even believe that they were possibly Hebrew Israelites, but they were sure of when they arrived. They're sure they weren't indigenous. They're sure they migrated from somewhere. They're sure of this. And they know it. And then when I listen to their language, it's like, oh, okay, I know exactly who you are, even if you don't. So then there's others that, you know what I'm saying? I know exactly who you are. So there's no way around that situation. I can only speak to where I've been on the ground. But I have spoken to individuals, especially I'm in the music industry. So I have a lot of contacts in Nigeria and South Africa and this and the other. They know in their language that it has a lot of those Hebrew in it. I've spoken to people all over Benin, Ghana. They're well aware. You know what I'm saying? They're well aware. The Bantus are well aware that they were a Johnny come lately and a stone in the shoe to the individuals that were there indigenously. And then it led to the indigenous individuals rounding the ones up that got caught and sending them into slavery through multiple routes. You know what I'm saying? There's no way around it. And let me not forget Yemen, by the way. While I'm talking about all of that, we also need to understand that one of the purest dialects of Hebrew that's spoken to this day, ancient dialects, is in Yemen. And we'll find that these especially are spoken. I'm sure you've heard of the problem in Yemen with the Houthi rebels. Would it be far-fetched for me to call them Yehudi rebels? When they speak one of the most ancient dialects of Ivri.
Right.
And then it's really really suspect that the strange bedfellows in Tel Aviv and Riyadh are working strategically together to destroy them and wipe them off the map. You know what I'm saying? The behaviors of the people around let us know that we're dealing with people, you know what I'm saying, that were not there originally. They came from somewhere else. They were not appreciated when they got there. And when the opportunity came, they got rid of them. You know what I'm saying? There's no way around it. You know what I'm saying? And like I told you before at the beginning of this, Bantu was a derogatory pejorative. It has now become a tribal distinction and almost term of endearment, just like we say, you know, our still asleep brothers say my nigga. It's the same situation. I'm just keeping it real. Nigger and coon is a derogatory pejorative, just like Bantu. Oh, there goes that. The history and tradition said, oh, there goes those Bantus. You know what I'm saying? Separate those Bantus.
I just found that out, man. I would say about 6-7 months ago. To say Bantu, they looked at that like that's an insult. Or you say the people in Ethiopia when you call them Falashas, that's an insult.
Correct.
I didn't know this.
Yes, it's an insult. It's an insult. So it was, you know what I'm saying? It was a proverb and a byword. Hint, hint.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a proverb and a byword. Just like the Most High said, we would be called by that distinction. But then also in the text, it talked about that Yehuda is a lion's whelp, and the scepter of power shall never pass from him. It is also a historical fact. Every single totalitarian leader on the continent that liberated their people from colonialism were Bantu. To this very day, everyone, Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, they're all Bantus. You know what I'm saying? The reason they're so hated over there is because they came there with like my brother Mighty Hebrew was talking about the way they were able to plant. Our people were an agrarian people. We understood the farming. We understood how to get it done. The best farmers, the best situation over there are Bantus. They are hated to this very day, this very hour, because it seems like everything they touch prospers. So I could go on about it. I just want to stop and give Mighty Hebrew an opportunity to chime in, but I could go on the ways where I can see my people. You know what I'm saying? Because
before you go on, let me say this. Before you go on, let me say this real quick. I want to open the invitation for you yourself, teamed up with Mighty Hebrew or by yourself. If we can get you out here, because I'm in Maryland and DC, and I do have brothers in Ohio.
Absolutely,
you out here so we can do a lecture, because I'm in the process because getting the equipment. We could probably do it in New York or DC. We could do a lecture on these subject matters. And let me say this too. This is an open challenge, right? Because I'm really thinking, this might, as brothers, right, as an elder brother to you brothers, I think that we are belittling ourselves to even accept a challenge from Dagger Squad, where the white man asked on talking about vaccines, taking vaccines with Sarnetta.
Right.
They kick their ass. They look pseudo. They look like niggas. You understand? They really like niggas.
Right.
But I really gotta. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
they look horrible, right? And we know Garfield is a Google scholar, right? And we know the other guy, he whatever his name. Hey, to me, they don't even they can't hold water. You know, I'd rather go with big fish that's dealing because these guys they toilet paper, they charcoal for the fire. You understand? But go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
No,
No, you want
I
to
was
say
saying
something?
that what number one, I totally agree with us doing a more formal situation because like we were telling the family that's listening, we did this on the fly, off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? But we would owe it to our people to have a more on task, more because if this was planned, I would have my laptop on, bullet points, line items, notes. You know what I'm saying? And we owe that in a real structured setting to give that to them, give them sourcing. You know what I'm saying? Because Mighty
Right.
Hebrew does it. He does it so much.
This just an introduction.
The Mighty Hebrew does it so
And,
much and
and,
so
and, and,
well. He
right.
knows how to
And
do
let
it
me
off
say,
the.
I gotta say this. This is how we gotta do it though. And this is for
Yes,
my
sir.
audience, right? And your audience, both you brothers' audience. This is how we want to do it because this platform is growing. Hallelujah. This is how we want to do this, right?
Hallelujah.
Because we have main states, New York, California, DC, Florida, Tech. We have main states, Ohio, so on and so forth. When we bring on true scholars, not just one scholar, 4 or 5 scholars, right? And these brothers or sisters have to travel, right? We want to be able to set it up where they can come, where we can donate, and everybody know my platform and know me, where I can set up somewhere y'all can actually see the money that's being donated to help these brothers travel to give a beautiful lecture, not just on this live, right? But to do it where you can see it on live, right? But they're in an open form, right? In an open form where things can be more expediently done, right? And more professionally done, right? In person, right? Where we can come out and do these type of things. Because these are not the only two scholars that I've spoken with. Brother, y'all have seen the brothers and sisters in the past, and there's more to come. More to come. You understand? And I have not finished with the topics that we've been talking about. But these are some things that we want to bring to the table. But I have an open challenge, and I'm pretty sure these brothers want to take on that challenge to the brother Ron Dalton, right? Bring your ass. Bring your ass, right? As a brother, bring your ass, right?
Please
Come on
do.
this platform, right? Bring your ass. But go ahead, bro. I'll let you. Hey, you do it. Everybody know Qanath always do it. You do it. Bring us, and it'll be neutral. I say bring your ass because I want to see you bring your scholarship. What my brothers say, right? And you still my brother, but bring what you're saying because you talk about we don't know who's who, we can marry anybody, and so on and so forth, language and all that, right? And DNA. I want to see where you stand with my brothers here. So bring your ass, right? And let me go here. I don't know how you brothers feel about this because this is my brother. This other brother I'm about to mention. I love this brother, but I've been trying to get him on the platform, right? So everybody send a shout out to my brother Ron Shield. Run prospect, right? So what y'all think about his scholarship, right? And don't, this is Friday Night Fire, right? And we all brothers here. What you think about his scholarship? Because I like his scholarship dealing with who's Israel. I just don't like the fact that sometimes he don't come out and say who's Israel, right? Because he know damn well so-called Hispanics are not Israelites, but he won't speak on it. You know, how you feel about that?
Yeah, giving all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It's the mighty Hebrew Prince, Charlotte thing. Yo, I love Divine Prospect, man. That's my brother, man. That's my young brother. That's my comrade. Um, his research, he's a young genius in his own right. I respect his craft. I respect what he's trying to do. Do I agree with his method? No, I don't. Now, does that mean that makes Divine Prospect less of a scholar? No.
Right.
I disagree with, mostly every Israelite that's conforming themselves to academia consensus. Now, listen to me carefully, family. We know that the powers that be controls the organism, meaning the brain, by the way of media. Now, in the book of Daniel, it says that the Euro Gentile will have a time and a half a time to rule. So they're ruling by understanding the art of the power to define and to redefine at will, historically, because whoever controls time and space, they control and they define life. So now, the problem with the way was
Here they go. Here they go. When the information come out, they get started. Hey, you still there, King? Because Mighty Hebrew breaking up.
No, Kane, I'm here, and I'm waiting for him to come back. I will. Oh, his mic, something's happened. Yeah, and he's frozen. It looks like he's frozen a little bit on the screen too. Yeah. But I've attempted several times over the years to reach out to the brother. I finally, just probably some months ago, he was on live location about something random, and I just decided to be disruptive and put stuff on the talk. Like, dude, how many times I'm going to email you? And it seems like you only want to debate neophytes, people that you can easily consume.
It's about Ron, right? It's about Ron.
Yep. Yeah, the Divine Prospect. Yes, Ron. I'm talking about him, Ron Shields. Yeah, it's like I've sent it, and I didn't even send him emails. I didn't even. Yeah, shalom. We can hear you. I didn't even send him emails about debate. I sent emails. I say, hey, listen, I listened to one of your teachings dealing with the Moedim and the Mikra Kodesh, and I think we need to delve into the parsing the text just a little bit better, because and no response, this, that, and the other. I fear that when individuals get so big in a certain type of situation, when they get certain notoriety, as my late great grandmother says, a lot of times people get too big for their britches. So, you know what I'm saying? So my late great grandmother used to say that all the time. People get too big for their britches. One thing I appreciate about the brother Mighty Hebrew, he has been consistently real with me since the first time we met when I was in Israel in 2015. I've never not been able to get in contact with him. I've never not been able to, and he's one of the individuals that does it for free. That's not, that will deal with individuals and this, that, and the other. That's my only issue with Brother Ron Shields, is that I've literally not even trying to debate or be heard. I'd like a private conversation on the phone, and we could delve into the text, parse the text together, and maybe arrive at some discovery there. And I've never gotten an adequate response from him, and I think that's a little disingenuous.
Whoa!
And let me say this. We're not fighting. This love. This love.
No, I want to get back to what I was saying, right? Again, Divine Prospect, Ron Shields is a banging scholar. He's a banging scholar. Research off the hook. He's a brilliant young man. The only problem that I have, now y'all got to hear what I'm saying, listen carefully. The only problem that I have with him and everybody that's using academia consensus is, why would y'all use their system and method when it's systematically designed to debunk the Bible? Y'all got to understand, when the Egyptian chronology was developed at the Royal Society in London, England, it was originally designed, or Egyptology was designed really to show that the Bible was true. Later on, when those illuministic powers took this into their hands, they created a system to strictly debunk the Bible. So that being the case, why would you use a system that is designed to debunk anything you say? Because if you don't have proper peer reviews, or what's determined as proper peer reviews, then the academic world can reject what you bring as pseudo. This is why you always hear them say, this is pseudo, that's pseudo. because there wasn't an academic commission or consensus that came together by the way of peer review and said, yo, this is solid facts. You see what I'm saying? But just because academic consensus didn't say what you bringing forth is fact, that don't mean that it's not fact. And furthermore, truth is different from fact, because a fact can consistently change based on more empirical data that is brought forth. But truth is verifiable. Now, how do we verify truth? We identify by the way of Hebrew anthropogenesis, meaning the anthropological understanding and structure of a people through psychology and spirituality of them people. As Moreh Yirmeyah so brilliantly broke down in the interview, how if you look at a child, for instance, that never seen his father, but he does things like his father. He might walk like his father, talk like his father, etc. So now let's talk about the E1B1B DNA that you're talking about, the so-called Egyptians, who are in fact really your modern day Sudanese. They your real Egyptians, okay? Not us. They're your real Egyptians. So let's look at the psychology of these people. Do they act like us? Do they walk like us? Do they talk like them? No. You want to know why? Because they're not us. But when you study the Bantu people, when you study people in Ghana or Qanath, or if you go to Nigeria, Mali, right? Liberia, these different areas, they act just like us. A lot of them act just like us. So we know for a fact that we not them people. So you can't, and furthermore, if you really want to talk Kemet, let's go there. If you really want to talk Kemet, you talking post-antediluvian. Yeah, Garfield, you always want to say, oh, he talked the pre-antediluvian. You saying these things because you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, because if y'all keep pre-dynastic Egypt hidden, then y'all can make it seem as though Egypt was the apex of civilization, when in fact the children of Ham were Johnny-come-latelys that in fact were used as custodianers that was looking over things that they had no knowledge of what they were really meant to be, because we talking about the first pyramid built in 850,000 BCE. This had nothing to do with the people of Cam. It has nothing to do with them. But that's another story, another topic, where I know that they're not even on that level. They're not even on that level.
Let me say this real quick. Hold on, Prince, please, real quick. So I want to say, Deron Shields, he know that Qanath Yahawashi always had his back. You understand? Even when so-called anthropologists made threats to him, so on and so forth. I called him, or I texted him. It was one of them. I said, "Brother, any problems? Let me know. You know how we roll on this side." You understand? He said, "Come." So he know it ain't about that. You know, we just shooting shots at him a little bit.
No, I'm not. Yeah, so I'm not shooting a shot at him. I'm just saying what I disagree with. You
disagree with how
absolutely.
The way he.
His method. His method. I disagree with his method, his approach, because every time we use that method, every time you use the method that you're using, you're always going to lose, because it's automatically, systematically designed to discredit the Bible. So, if it's not aligning, y'all got to understand, if it's not aligning with Egyptian chronology, then it's not history. Period. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. So if they're looking, if they say, well, at this time, we have the Ebla tablets, 21 or 2000 BCE, but there is no evidence of Abraham, then automatically they're going to say Abraham didn't exist. This is what they're saying. But the reason why they're mainly saying these things, because science has discredited the so-called Jews as being the people of the book. See, when you go to places like the John Hopkins.
One sec, hold on. Let me get. I want the brother lose his chain of thought. He want to say something real quick.
Ken, go ahead.
Oh no, I totally agree with the brother. Because but then we also do have to understand the pathology of it. That the brother Ron Shields gained a lot of his notoriety and cut his teeth in that Sonetta polite camp. So therefore, he had to be astute metanetter and things of that nature. But you are totally correct that school of thought is designed to do that. One thing that my dear brother Kananya wrote a brilliant article that's being published in this syndication shortly, where he dealt with people even like Sheikh Anta Diop. He may have said certain things, but he had a predisposition, a subjective predisposition to agreeing with the Europeanized thought that discredits the text and then makes the imposters a people that they're not. So there's a subjective predisposition. When we go to school, if you go to school, people that are master's degrees, they write a thesis, but they're agreeing with the scholars by which they are gaining this master degree of accreditation. But it's at the doctorate level where there's a dissertation where you're literally critically analyzing the information that got you to where you are. And if it needs to be dismantled, you have a responsibility to do so. So
it's funny you said that, brother. It's fine. I'm gonna let you finish. You said that because I was asked to speak at a couple universities, and I didn't do it because they wanted me to speak, but I still had to follow their criteria without cutting. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I feel what you said. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah, it's like when you deal in that school of thought, it becomes subjective, and I call it a priori supposition, which means a priori means I come to a conclusion before I do the work. But true scholastic methodology is the Latin word a posteriori, which means I come to the conclusion after I got my hands dirty doing the work. So when we deal with that, like one thing, I'm a renewed covenant believer, but a lot of individuals will try to dispel the renewed covenant because of a subjective a priori thought that the renewed covenant or the Brit Kadashah was written in Greek. Who said that? You know what I'm saying? They're acting like Greek was the lingua franca, but as an avid proponent of Aramaic source criticism and Peshitta primacy, I am thoroughly convinced that the Greek at most was vehicular, but it was most certainly not vernacular. It was vehicular. So, and then on top of that, just using that as an example, as far as taking away the subjective school of thought that you gotta stay with, that it's written in Greek, or there's a few other concepts that we could talk about in other scholastic get-togethers or symposiums. But being a proponent of Aramaic source criticism takes away all of the spooky mysticism that has some of the Torah-only individuals rejecting the renewed covenant, and with good reason. Because this Greek school of thought spookifies, deify, it does a whole bunch of stuff that the pure Aramaic thought process of a people that truly spoke Aramaic and truly spoke the Shemitic languages, they thought differently. And to break some of that, so to approach a school of thought directly, like Mighty Hebrew's talking about, through that school of thought, you've always got to lean on their side to even play in their playground, and I don't think that's fair.
Good. We're going to finish up, but let me say this before we finish up, and we don't have to dig deep in the topic because I find. What's I would say frustrating, but I don't want to use that. It's just the wrong word to use. My vocabulary is not as deep as you brothers' vocabulary is very heavy, and I appreciate that. I love it actually. But I'm starting to see a lot of people always use us to build themselves up, even our own. And I noticed on our dear brother Sadetta TV that when it's time to get the oof going, we go to the Hebrew, right? And of lately, he's been using Hebrew Israelite sisters to do this. And he had a sister on tonight, and quite frankly, she may say something, but I have no respect for her because it's attention. It's like, I don't want to call her name. It's just attention, and to go on that platform, and not to so-called have a head or so on and so forth, or just to speak about the Bible and don't know about the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, whatever, and not knowing breakdowns and so on and so forth, and go on that platform and get embarrassed, and then go back on the night and talk about brothers that's Hebrew, Old Testament, New Testament, but not even speak about sisters making a excuse me, against black men. You know, I just find it very disencouraging, very disrespectful, and I'm not surprised that Sarnetta did it. You know, this is his thing, what he does. You know, I just find it disingenuous that any of us would do that, especially with the sister doing. And I told my brother that's in our camp, Jeremiah, now he has to get on her because what she did tonight was very disrespectful, to go on the show and beat the brothers, sisters down in our community, you know, and Sarnett don't even know he's a part of our community too. So it's not to go against even the country community, as far as they just don't know, and the Most High going to judge them. They just don't know.
Well,
You know,
our people want to be seen, like you're saying, and be heard so much. They're unfortunately, and it'll be too late when they realize it, if they ever realize it. You know, to compromise oneself just for the sake of notoriety. It's still an
right.
exercise.
She had a breast showing, flipping her
Oh
hair.
wow!
Talking about, Son, you think I should put on the head wrap? He said, well, that's up to you, sister. Oh, okay. Are we live? I'm like, chick, you know goddamn well you live. You call Sarnetta. You know damn well you live. He said you was gonna come on a damn show. You know, I think we're dealing with somebody a little psycho there, you know, and it's crazy, man. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead,
No. As far as that's concerned, I will never compromise the integrity of what I'm doing out of for my people, just for some metrics and analytics
yeah,
and notoriety. I don't because if I'm willing to compromise just for attention, then I will inevitably end up saying anything that I think people want to hear.
right. And let me say this to this sister: if she happened to, somebody texted to her, send this to her. In all due respect, right? In the Hebrew community, Compass community, rap community, white man community, if you're showing all your assets, all your titties, right, and flipping your hair, only attention you're gonna get is from the dingling. I'm gonna keep it real with you. That's what you're gonna get, right? For brothers that don't care nothing about you, and guess what? Sisters who want to be, they want to munch on the carpet. You understand? So we have to be very careful how we carry ourselves, even as Hebrew Israelites. You understand? And some people, a lot of people take on that name. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. It's a fad. It's a fad. To me, it's almost like Christianity. You know, it's a fad. You know, come as you are type of thing. And we have to be very careful with this, man. And you know, we have to check them. We have to check them. You know, and that's what we do over here. We check you, and that's what we off check us too. You know, because we humble enough to listen and say, you know what, you're right. You know, I've said that, and I've said I've been wrong about things. But for that sister to do what she did tonight, you know, she can get mad, glad. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, you was completely off with your shirt cut down low, twisting your hair, right? Not bringing out scriptures and just beating the brothers down. If you notice tonight, we didn't beat any brothers down. We challenged them on their philosophy, on really not on a lot of doctrine, you understand, but on their school of thought and a scholarship on that level, and brothers can build on that level. We can even build like that with sisters. But to go to a platform, I went on Sarnetta to bring another brother out of his hole, Because it seemed like that's the only way he'd listen if you go on that platform. He came out and then he ran. He tucked his tail and ran, you know. But I'm gonna give you brothers the last word. You know, I'm so happy you brothers came on tonight. You know, it was last minute, and most I will we'll do it on a more scholarly level. We could do some slideshow if we can actually have you come on this side of the town where we can actually sit down and do a real do it for real.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
So, right. So go ahead, bro. Whoever want to start first, and then I'm gonna close it out. Go ahead.
King, shalom, shalom. Giving all praise and honor to Yahuwah, the supreme, intelligent, powerful, one of our forefathers of the Qanath, Yaakov, those striving for righteousness, take us into the family. Shalom Aleichem. We coming for you, Dagger Squad. That's just the bottom line. We coming for you. You know, all that weak scholarship you was talking about, Garfield, we got something for you. You know what I mean? The Mighty Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalistic Research Team. We coming to stomp y'all bones to the ground. Symbolically, of course, don't take that literal. You know what I mean? You got the real scholars. You know what I'm saying? I was an understudy of Shah Eliashib ben Yehuda. I'm an understudy of Prince Asiel ben Yisrael, Prince Kez ben Yisrael, Prince Amiel ben Israel, some of the greatest, if not the greatest Israelite minds on the planet. You understand? You know what I mean? So you about to get more than this work. We ain't doing no cutting, we cutting off limbs. Yeah, that's what you like. You like to, you know, go back and forth with the social media games, but we're gonna show you what real scholarship is about. You know, you so used to dealing with a certain type of segment of Israelite. That's just a little portion within the greater Hebrew community, man. The Hebrew community, we are diverse people, man. We all over the four corners of the earth. You know, you situating yourself with one thought, and then that ain't even the fullness of that thought. Because like Elder Qanath said, F.O.P.E is a One West camp, but they are totally on a whole nother level, and the Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationals on top, because it ain't no Torah only Messiah. We just Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationals because the Torah is our constitutional breastplate that causes the people to move as a body politic. And that's how we gonna come September, October, whenever Sinetta, you know what I mean, agree, we gonna get a neutral spot. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna have nothing to do with him running or dictating anything, because you don't control the narrative of our destiny. We control our own destiny by the way uphold and the law. Yeah.
Hold on, they bring your ass on this platform, or that's it. That's it. There's no more middle ground with us, because the Hebrew Israelite community is worldwide, right? Bigger than the conscious community, right? The Hebrew Israelite is bigger than One West, right? It's worldwide, right? All nations, we worldwide, right? So we're gonna start on this platform, other platforms. Right? And I appreciate starting at a platform too. Don't get me wrong. I do appreciate it. You know, this will be starting at point blank, period. That's it. That's it, man. You know, I deal with brothers from Israel, brothers from you name it, brothers and sisters. That's how we roll it. Old Testament, New Testament. That's how we get down.
Absolutely.
And then we're gonna discuss out the disagreements we have. We can discuss that in the background, and then we have to bring it up to discuss it in front of everybody. We can do that too. That's what this platform is about.
Right.
You understand? That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
It's about building. It's about building. That's how we move. One thing about, like I said, if you come short, we're gonna F.O.P.E you up.
Yeah, man, y'all dealing with real men of renown. Y'all doing it for entertainment reasons. We doing this in the name of honor, integrity, respect. You know what I mean? The respect of Yisrael. You know what I mean? We are civilized people, man. It's the 21st century. We in 2020. Get your vision right. We coming for you, Garfield. Since you claim that your scholarship is this, that, the third, well, we're gonna challenge your scholarship. We're gonna challenge. We want put your scholarship on the table. Put your scholarship on the table. It's just that simple. Then after that, I ain't gonna never deal with this ball, because y'all know I don't deal with dudes. but I don't deal with. I just want to say this: I don't deal with dude, but on his scholarship, I'm gonna destroy this cat because he think that he dealing with some type of social media misfit. Man, I will bury all your scholarship bullshit that you coming with, your so-called academia consist. Come on, man, you using racist pricks. Let me get on him for a minute, Elder. I'm about to get off. You using racist pricks, Pudaf and Landons and all these suck-ass cracker hybrids. Man, we gonna bury these jokers, man. You know what I mean? Because you making it seem like Eurocentric crackpots can dictate Hebrew anthropogenesis. Man, we going into the anthropology of a people, man. You know what I mean? Oh, so what you trying to say? Those elders that's saying that they not from West Africa, they from Northeastern Africa, that they lying? That's what you trying to say? They saying they ain't learned that from so-called Jews. Go to the book Black Song, Black Flame by Lavelle. When European explorers came into West Africa, right? This is a fact. They was amongst main Dinkas, and they had the Pentateuch or the Torah written in Arabic. Why? Because during the 5th century ACE to the 15th century, during the Dark Age era, Arabic was the language of diplomacy at the time. But those that sat in power, like the Tsar princes, they spoke an Aramaic dialect. He was known as Za'el Yirmeyah, that which come from Yemen. This is a fact, man. We talking about real scholarship that we can prove, because by 740 ACE, you already had over 44 kings that sat on the throne in Qanath or Ghana that was Israelites before they converted to Islam. Because they converted into Islam in 790. And it wasn't even the whole population. It was only the aristocratic, and the royal family of Qanath. So these guys, they don't know what they talking about. Y'all twisting history to suit an imagination connect that was developed by those that have you in captivity. Period. You think the same slave master that enslaved you gonna save you? Get the fuck out of here. That's dumb. So I'm challenging the academia world. I'm not in agreement with them, period. Because it's systematically designed to destroy who the children of Israel is. That's dumb. They would never, ever tell us who Israel. That's why it's such a mystery as to who Israel is. And also this argument that the Israelites are Canaanites. That's dumb. The Canaanites are descendants of Qanath through Ham. What are you talking about? We are not Canaanites. Stop that. Now, if you want to say we Canaanite citizens or residents, all right, if you're talking now geopolitically, but we talking through the seed of your father. We're not Canaan, man. So that's just period, man, like these games. And if we are, you got to prove it. I want to see if you contain the element in a laboratory. That's what I want to see. You saying we this, so show and prove through DNA analysis that the so-called Negroes in the Western Hemisphere is Canaan. Prove it. You always saying prove this, prove that. Well, we challenging you. We challenging you. All your sources that you're using is European sources to try to condemn an original melanated people. You dealing with white supremacy. You saying that the white man can't be trusted, but Garfield, all your sources damn near throughout your book is coming from those that you saying we can't trust. So none of this shit makes sense, what you talking about. Even when you dealing with Qanath, the foundation, I don't care if you dealing with Baba Heru, if you dealing with Obanga, I don't care what Kemetic, I don't care what Kemetic scholars or Afrocentric Pan-African scholars that you use. The foundation is built upon Europeans, man. When you talk about Champollion, when you talk about Wallace Budge that translated the hieroglyphs, and they building off of it. Their whole foundation, Egyptology was created by Europeans, man. Pan-Africanism is an off branch of Pan-Germanism. This is a fact. But you sit up here and you try to make it seem like what we dealing with is Eurocentric, but your whole foundation, even your out of Africa theory, come from a man by the name of Howell, who was a teacher to the late Dr. John Henrik Clark. So you got Cracker that created the out of Africa theory, and you trying to tell us to just believe in everything you say. We always existed on this planet. Never try to conceptualize this planet without people, or this people without this planet, or people without clothes. We always been intelligent, man. We're on another level, man. Period. So I'm challenging you. After we prove that there was evidence, because your question is showing proof prior to the 1500s that there was Israelite presence throughout Africa. Okay? We're going to show that, and we want to know any classical records that y'all have of people saying that Israel didn't exist. That's what we show us. Don't keep showing us contemporary scholarship. We want to see classical historians saying it. And the reason why I'm challenging y'all on this level is because I know y'all can't show us that. That's why y'all never post up classical historians challenge. Even when Manasseh challenged Josephus, Manasseh never said that the children of Israel didn't exist. He was saying we were undesirables, but he still said we existed, regardless of if he embellished the story. The whole situation of this subject matter is he acknowledged our existence, period. All classical writers, historians, philosophers, they all acknowledge Israel's existence, except these dumb, these dumb so-called scholars today.
The whole world evolves around the Bible. Way before the damn white man. The whole world evolves around the Bible. And every nationality revolves around the Bible. Now, you said two things and let the brother in, right? And this is why you got to be careful in what we say and also who we deal with. This guy called himself Garfield, and you keep saying this cat. He named himself after a damn cat. Garfield, which is a fat cat, which he is fat. And when you watch the cartoon, he was slick and trying to feed and get over the other cartoon characters. That's what Garfield was all about, a fat, slick cat. He named himself after a fat cat, Garfield, the slick, furry, hairy cat. Understand this. Now, I didn't say this. This is a fact. Now, Garfield. He named himself Garfield after a damn cat, a fat cat, right? Who gets over on other cartoon characters. Negro, my brothers here are not cartoons, right? We in the flesh. We Hebrew Israelites, right? We Hebrew Israelites. Your 9 lives are over with now, right? Esau kicked your ass and took away the last 8-1. Now you got 1 left. Now, don't you put it on the line. Don't put that 1 life you got left, right? Save it. Come home. We want you to come home now. You know what, Prince? Let's tell him to come home, Garfield. Come home pearly. Pearl, cat, pearl. Pearl, cat, pearl. Right? Bring your ass home and pearl, Negro. Right? Because that's what you are, big fat cat. It's time for you to pearl, come home, right? And get obedient, get in line. They say cats are stubborn, and you're a stubborn ass cat. Right? You're a stubborn ass cat. Right? Right? And they hate to get put in water. You're going to wash your ass with the word. Right? They hate to get put in the water. Cats hate water. But we're going to wash your ass. We're going to wash your ass, Garfield. You slick fat cat. Go ahead, brother. I give it to you, Prince. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Moreh, Yirmeyah. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed this because brother, I enjoyed you. First and foremost, it was an honor and a privilege to even have. This is definitely a lively show. I definitely like this show. Uh, that you do, and your willingness to have some truth and integrity. I definitely would most high willing. I surely would make the trip to come out to wherever you are for any, whatever needs to happen. I would most definitely make that, make that trip. Um, and I'm not really too familiar with the Garfield character and this, that, and the other, the cat. But I know that I know that Prince. I know he's got how we're going to approach him well in hand. But I definitely wanted to focus some of my attention, even through maybe some strategic partnership or alliance with you, and like I already have with my dear brother, Mighty Hebrew, is to really start dealing with, like you were saying, the pseudo scholarship, even within our community, because we are 1 hour from midnight on the fulfillment of prophecy, like you're talking about. Prophecy is the watermark of all sound wisdom literature. So like you're saying, that the sacred text is our foundation, and it is the real, and everything is shaped around that. You know what I'm saying? And these pseudo scholars, these idiots, I've even heard them. They think they call the sacred text a astrotheological literary hybrid, in which once, where it basically is a merger of their comedic thought and a whole bunch of other foolishness, but they don't understand the validity of it. And then our deliverance is right around the corner. And I would love to be participate and be engaged in consortiums or groups that we're really starting to attack some stuff. We're telling the truth and shaming the devil, as the old folks say. You know what I'm saying? With some of the foolishness and madness that some of these camps are putting out, that are deceiving our people. You know what I'm saying? Because you are responsible for everything that you teach and to whom you do. So if you decide to just start pulling stuff out your behind, and you just want to tell it, self-aggrandize and say anything that will make you look like the foremost authority on things in order for people to follow you because of whatever your mind is telling you, that you ain't got that to do. Not with the Yisrael of Yahweh
Right.
Elohim. You ain't got that to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hallelujah.
right.
And we build it. We build it. We going to Africa too, Most High will, this summer. Before I don't know, whenever the Most High decide to lift up, stop kicking the white man ass for right now, because they scared, man. I love it. I'm enjoying this.
Right.
I'm really enjoying this, man. Yeah, go ahead, King.
Oh, I would love to, and I'd love to even just Africa, go back wherever you would go, and even just depending on what the situation and how it develops. There's a lot that I could show anybody that came with me over, especially in the East Africa region, that would just be a wealth of encouragement for you. You know what I'm saying? I was so encouraged when I went there, because I got some confirmation of some stuff I had been studying, and some of the things I wasn't even looking for. And that was the Most High doing that, to show me, okay, yeah, no, son, you on the right track. I'm just gonna keep smacking you in your face with all of this confirmation, some of which you didn't know you was gonna even get today. So go and enjoy this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm ever appreciative for that. So that's that. I didn't have too much to say beyond that and belabor the point, but I truly appreciate you having me, and you are more than welcome to if there's anything, because there's a wealth of things, even dealing in the Hebrew Israelite culture, even dealing in the text and this, that, and the other. There's a lot of stuff that is really where I have labored. And I'm a forever aspiring student, even though I truly am humbled by the acknowledgement of being calling me a scholar or whatever. But I'm just a career student. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I learn, and I love this more than anything, because it's changed my way of life, my way of seeing where things are going. I'm encouraged at the end, even in the face of this COVID-19 situation and this, that, and the other. How ironic it happens during the time of Pesach, where one of our greatest stories is how we were covered from the plagues of Mitzrayim. So, so I look at things that same way. So, as long as we maintain our strength and our focus in that, but then we start reaching our people with the right heart, I think that, the outcome is definitely going to be what it's going to be, because Yah's word is true, whether we believe it or not.
Hallelujah. And like you said about the time of this COVID-19, doing Pesach, if you notice, what we did during that time, right? With Moshe, right? He put the blood over the doors, right? And they tell us to do what right now? Stay in the house. Stay in the house, right? So we staying in and we're watching the Most High do the work, man. So I gotta say this before I go, this for my audience, because my audience know how I roll about people who try to steal our cultures. I call them culture vultures. Culture vultures, and we don't stand for no damn culture vultures up in Israel. You understand? So for all you so-called Edomites, for all you so-called Asians or whatever like that, the Most High gonna deal with you. The Most High gonna deal with you. We know we gotta lead by example, but the Most High gonna deal with you. But you will never, ever, 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 ever be us. The promise and the covenant is not given unto you. We got brothers who travel, right? And we got people right now who talking about, Hispanics are Israelite. This brother been was it Kenya or Ethiopia, right? Ethiopia, right? I guarantee you he didn't see Kenya. I guarantee you he didn't see Julio Chavez. I guarantee he didn't see Julio Cesar Chavez or Oscar De La Hoya over there walking around looking like this. I guarantee you he didn't see that, right? Going around there. Do you see Julio Cesar Chavez with this on? No. Can you even read that? You know what I'm saying? So I guarantee you they don't know. They have no clue. So stop trying to give away our inheritance. Stop it. This belongs to us and us only. We claiming it. Hallelujah. We claim it. Hallelujah. We claiming it because the Most High gave it to us. He gave us a promise, a covenant, right? And it's up to us to keep it, take what is rightfully ours. Understand that. Rightfully ours, and how dare anybody buck up against the natural branches of the Most High chosen people. You understand that? He chose us, right? And we're going to fellowship, we're going to worship and serve him and him only. Understand that. Understand that, right? So this is F.O.P.E. for our people edification, right? With my brothers, the Prince, right? Hey, this is what we do here, man. Every Friday, every Saturday, and every Sunday. Everybody knows Sunday Flames is popping. Tuesday night classes. We've been a little bit slowing down a little bit. So it is what it is, man. If anybody want to make a donation, it's $ PARRIDON 12 P $. We do it. $ PARRIDON 12, right? That's the Cash App, so we can get our equipment fund up and going. All praise to the Most High. Y'all stay encouraged, man. Stay faithful to the law, statutes, commandments, and love one another, man. Love one another and fight. Stand strong and fight. With that, we say hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism rise up worldwide.
That's right. Worldwide. That's right. Hold on. And then broadcast.